Call the meeting to order. This Board of Works and Safety this Monday, April 15th, 2019. And the first item on the agenda is approval of the minutes from the regular meeting of April 1st.
Motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting April 1st.
Second.
No further discussion. I call for the vote. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is opening of the bids for one tandem axle dump truck with trade-in of one vehicle. Is there anybody here present which to render a bid at this time? If not, I'll entertain a motion to close the bids.
Move to close the bids.
No further discussion. I call for the vote. All those in favor, aye. Aye. Motion carries.
We have received one bid from M&K Truck Centers. And the bid minus the trade-in is $220,311. 220311.00.
That's the only bid?
It's the only bid we have.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to.
Motion to refer the bids to the appropriate city departments for their review and recommendation.
Second motion.
Further discussion, I call for the vote. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is a request to use city lot by Abigail Thayer Kuchina, event coordinator for the city to use the northeast corner of 8th and Washington Streets for the 2019 market season, Saturdays, May through October from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m.
Hi. I'd just like to formally request permission from the Board of Works to utilize the lot on 8th and Washington at the southeast corner to use for the farmers market on Saturdays from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. May through October.
Okay. Just formality. Any discussion? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the request to use the lot at the northeast corner of 8th and Washington Street on Saturdays, May through October, 6 a.m. to 4 p.m. for a farmer's market.
Support.
No further discussion. I call for the vote. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is an agreement for entertainment services for the Michigan City Farmers Market 2019 season with George Perwitz, commencing on May 4th through October 26th. Total compensation $3,466.84.
This contract is the same as we had last year, allotting performance or performers to be paid $133.34 per Saturday. So George has kindly agreed to perform each Saturday again, and this just is the same contract as last year with updated dates.
Okay. Any further discussion? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the agreement for entertainment services for Michigan City Farmers Market 2019 season with George Perwitz.
Second motion.
No further discussion. I call for the vote. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is the approval of the vendors for the Michigan City Farmers Market for this May through October of this year. We have a list of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 15. recommendation.
So yes, we do have 15 vendors who have asked for permission to participate. There's just a few things that I need to mention with regard to some of these, just for the record so we can get them cleaned up. One of the vendors is JR Produce. Their certificate of liability insurance begins on May 11th. They need to make it effective as of May 4th, which is the first date that they're participating, so we just need updated certificate of insurance from them.
I do have their insurance from last year. Their agent wouldn't update 2018 to 2019, so
they are fine on them.
They are still covered.
Perfect. Then we're fine on them.
Okay.
We have John Riska. He just needs to sign his application. The Nest, just a reminder to them that their policy will expire on August the 8th, so it looks like they're going to participate the whole summer, so they'll just need a reminder on August the 8th. Also the same with Randy Pressel. He will just need a reminder on June 22nd that his certificate of liability has expired. Chris Gianni will be participating every Saturday as well. The certificate of insurance needs the non-cancellation language in it. Ed Burke, just a reminder that his policy will expire on July 5th. He plans on being present the whole summer as well. Same with Green Trails Flower Farm, just a reminder on August 27th that they'll need to update theirs. Stamper Cheese, on page 3 of the agreement, they did not put where notice needs to be sent to them. And then just a reminder, their insurance will expire on August 1st. Baseline Barbecue did not put their where they would like notice on page 3. Mike's Mediterranean Cuisine, on page 2 of the agreement, it's hard to see. They didn't mark if they're going to be participating every Saturday.
They are.
They are? Okay. So that needs to be marked every Saturday. Okay, I marked that for them.
Okay, thank you.
And then they need to just put where their notice will be sent on paragraph 11 of the agreement. And then finally, just a reminder to, is it Oh Mamas? Oh Mamas Inc., that their certificate of liability will just expire on July 10th. And everything else is fine.
Okay.
Any further discussion? I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the request for the farmers market agreements between the 15 parties listed today, those being Jack Haverstock for JR Produce, John Reiska for Rising Phoenix Gallery, Esther Gunshin for The Nest, Randy Pressler for Grandpa's Farm, Chris Gianni for Harmony Farm, Ed Burke for Ed Burke Farms, Penny Vincini for Penny Vincini, Chris Ibrahim for Ibrahim Farms, Rebecca Connor for Green Trail Flower Farm, Brett Stamper for Stamper Cheese, Josh Valerie Rake for Baseline Barbecue, Mark Nasser for Mike's Mediterranean Cuisine, Josh and Judy Kleindens for Oh Mamas, and Amanda Fredenberg for Sprinkles and Company. In addition, there are some things that we've listed that need to be done, and I would include that in my motion. I will not list all of those items.
Support.
If there's no further discussion, I call for the vote. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is a request for street closure by Abigail Thayer Kuchta on behalf of Abby May of the Michigan City Main Street Association, requesting a closure of 7th Street between Franklin and Washington on Friday, May 3rd, 2019 from 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. to host Wonder Wheels BMX Stunt Team performers for the first Friday Art Walk of the summer season.
Abby May, president of Main Street Association, is actually here to speak to that, so I'm going to let her.
Okay.
Yep, so we're excited to kick off our first Friday summer series with the BMX stunt performers. Like Abigail said, we would just want to shut down 7th going from Franklin to Washington so that we could secure an area safe for them to perform and in a place where people can easily view them. We would like to shut from 3 to 9 because that gives us an opportunity to get cars who have been parked there cleared out. When we close the street closer to the performance time, we sometimes are left with cars on the street, and that doesn't work. And then plenty of time to unpack and load out without impeding on the experience of the people at the art walk while it's going on.
Okay. Any discussion?
We'll just need the updated certificate of insurance
Sure.
because the one they produced expired on will expire on April 26th.
Okay, no problem.
Before the event.
Thank you for pointing that out.
No problem.
We don't have any police stuff here today, so this is yes.
I did email Captain Lineski as well as Chief Swistek. I can forward you the email. They both approve of the closure.
Okay, thank you. There's no further discussion. I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the request for street closure on behalf of Main Street Association for the closure of 7th Street between Franklin and Washington on Friday, May 3rd from 3 to 9 p.m. to host Wonder Wheels BMX stunt team performers for the first Friday Art Walk Summer Series.
I'll second that motion.
If there's no further discussion, I call for the vote. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Next item on our agenda is a vendor license request from Juan Lathrop, owner of Slice of Heaven, requesting renewal of his mobile food vendor license to be located at Brandt's Old Fashioned Feed and Pet Store, 309 West Michigan Boulevard. Yes, sir. Nothing's changed, right?
No.
I did receive
Everything
the
in
insurance this morning.
I'm sorry.
I did receive the updated
That's what I thought he
insurance.
provided you. Thank you.
Any discussion? No. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the request from Ron Landtrop for a renewal of his mobile food vendor license for Slice of Heaven located at Brandt's Old Fashioned Feed and Pet Store, 309 West Michigan Boulevard.
Support.
No further discussion. I call for the vote. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Next item on the agenda is a contract approval between the City of Michigan City Engineering Services contract with SEH of Indiana LLC effective April 15th, not to exceed $100,000.
Spike Peller, Michigan City Engineer. This is general engineering agreement between the city and SEH, and they do things like, well, they're working on the Podge Road light thing and the 300 block light thing, and they also have worked on the chevrons on Lakeshore Drive, and there's other things that I will have them do throughout the year.
Okay. Any discussion? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the contract between the City of Michigan City for engineering services with SEH of Indiana, effective April 15th, 2019, not to exceed $100,000.
I'll second that motion.
For discussion, I call for the vote. All those in favor, aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Next item is on the agenda is another contract. This one for professional, community, and economic development services by and between the City of Michigan City and Economic Development Corporation, effective January 1, 2019. Contract amount $150,000.
This is just the standard yearly agreement between the city and the Economic Development Corporation for their services. few months late getting it to us, but it's retroactive to January 1st of
It's the
2019.
same amount as last.
Same amount, same services.
Any further discussion? No, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the contract for professional community and economic development services by and between the City of Michigan City and Economic Development Corporation, Michigan City, Indiana, retroactive to January 1st, 2019, in the amount of $150,000.
Support.
For discussion, I call for the vote. All those in favor, aye. Motion carried. Next item on the agenda is request for Charles Street markings for Lakeshore Drive.
Good morning, members of the board. Craig Phillips, Planning Director. I received a request last year from Jed Mendel of the Sheridan Beach Homeowners Association to consider looking into the possibility of bike and pedestrian share signs along Lakeshore Drive within the Michigan City city limits. We did some research with regard to this issue, and given the request, given the nature of the right-of-way along Lakeshore Drive, the narrowness of the right-of-way, the fact that there is a number of areas where there are parking spaces that have been there for decades that might be difficult to remove. In cases where the where the roadway width is not wide enough to accommodate marked bike lanes, share rows are a good idea to consider. Delineating and identifying the proper flow of traffic for pedestrians and bicyclists in areas where there's known high pedestrian traffic or bike traffic. So this request comes to you both from the Planning Department and the Sheridan Beach Homeowners Association. I will defer to Mr. Peller with regard to the report that we received from SEH, but first I'd like to ask Jed Mandel from the Sheridan Beach Homeowners Association if he'd like to say a few words, as he was part of this request.
Thanks, Craig, and thank you all for considering this request. This is something we've been considering for a long time.
I need your name and address.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jed Mandel. I'm president of the Sheridan Beach Homeowners Association. I have a home at 203 Georgia Avenue in Michigan City. Thank you, President Janis. So if you've driven on Lakeshore Drive on a summer Saturday or Sunday, it's kind of hard to think of it when we had our weather yesterday, but it's actually coming fairly soon. You know that it gets very busy. We have joggers, walkers, people with their baby carriages, and bicyclists. For the most part, the bicyclists actually follow the rules of the road and drive in the same direction as traffic. The joggers and the walkers are horrible. They walk in both directions on both sides of the road, so we end up having two sets of walkers, a set of bicyclists, and the cars all on one side of the road. I think the Sharrow signs will, first of all, help direct the pedestrians as to the right direction in which to move, so we'll eliminate some width of that impediment to cars. I also think the Sharrow signs will tell drivers on Lakeshore Drive to stay away from the edge and to keep pedestrians and bicyclists safer. Since, as Mr. Phillips has said, it is practically impossible to put in actually a bicycle lane on Lakeshore Drive because of the narrowness. I think the Sharrow signs will serve as a sort of pseudo lane and help direct traffic. So this is a safety issue, a quality of life issue, I think, in Sheridan Beach. And just to tell you that the Homeowners Association will sort of put its money where its mouth is, we would be willing to make a contribution towards the cost of underwriting the expense of this for Michigan City. I want to thank Craig Phillips and Rich Murphy for their leadership in trying to get this done. We're hoping that this will be something that you guys can carry forward to Long Beach and Michiana Shores and all the way up to stop 41 and a half if the other communities will join you. But at least until stop 13, I guess, this would be something that we'd strongly support. Thank you very much.
If I could just add to that, you'll note that on the handout that you received from SEH, I'll just go over one thing. The recommended spacing of these markings is roughly every 250 feet. And you'll see the quantity and the costs associated with that. I believe the bike-only share roads are located within Washington, in the Washington Park portion of Lakeshore Drive. Is that correct? Right, but the bike-only ones, those are within Washington Park itself, I believe. Yes. Okay, and then the remainder of Lakeshore Drive would be both the bike and the pedestrian markings. And you'll see that total cost of $24,850. That's for the markings as well as the share the road signage. I'll just also note that I am working with the Controller's Office to identify funding for this request. Have also reached out to the the Northwestern Indiana Regional Plan Commission to look into possible opportunities for covering the costs of this, and to reach out to the other communities so that this is a seamless set of markings throughout the communities all along the lake, along Lakeshore Drive. And there's also the possibility of reaching out to a couple of different health-related foundations to assist with this as well. So what I would request this morning, before I defer to Mr. Peller and Mr. Neese on their comments, is that the board consider this request contingent upon the funding for the request. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Peller.
Thank you, Spike Peller, Michigan City Engineer. If you have any questions about the specifics and anything like that, we have here Jay Neese from SEH that can, who developed this this program. If you have any questions, then you can ask him.
As long as we get him to stand up and talk to us, that's good.
I sat 8 hours yesterday doing taxes for my whole family, so I'll gladly stand all day today, believe me. Okay, I'm here to talk a little bit about this, and first thing I wanted to know is if you have this little summary that we put together for Craig, and yes ma'am, that's it. So basically, we did quite a bit of research on this. We investigated the standards that are typically recommended for share lanes on bike lanes, and as Craig pointed out, the lanes on Lakeshore Drive are 11 feet wide. That's very narrow. However, as stated in this memo, you can place share lanes on a 4-foot section on either side of the edge of pavement, going in opposite directions. Now, to talk a little bit about this, I'm a cyclist and I also run. And I run down Lakeshore Drive and I cycle down Lakeshore Drive. For the most part, the vehicles, based upon my experience, stay away from the cyclists. And for the most part, as mentioned previously, the cyclists do follow the rules of the road. I think what we're really trying to do here is we're trying to protect the citizens and have them understand what they need to do when they're walking on the road, because for the most part, a lot of the citizens are all over the road. So they either walk with the road, with the traffic, they walk against the traffic, they walk in the middle of the road, etc., etc. So by placing these sharrows on those lanes, as we have suggested here, I think it's going to serve two purposes. It's going to protect the people from the cars, and it's going to protect the cars from the people, primarily. I think it's a good thing. I believe it's something that the city should consider and should complete on this section of Sheridan Beach Road. And more importantly, I think we did make a recommendation towards the back of our little explanation here that at least legal counsel and I talk a little bit. I think based upon my understanding, these are just recommended standards. So the city has the option of doing whatever they would like to do. And again, based upon that type of review, we would recommend that they be placed on this section of Lakeshore Drive in Sheridan Beach.
Okay.
So if you have any questions.
Any further discussion? If not, entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the request for Cheryl Street markings by Craig Phillips, planning Director requesting the placement of shared bike lane street markings on Lakeshore Drive from Kruger Avenue to the city's corporate limits for pedestrian safety contingent upon the funding.
Second that motion.
Further discussion, I call for a vote. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Will we get these in this year?
That's our hope. If not, that would be this fall, but our hope would be that we get these before the summer if possible, but this year, hopefully, for sure. But we have to, like I said, identify the exact funding source. It could end up being a potential grant matching situation, but we don't know the details of that yet. So,
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm up here for the next one too, so I'll stay.
Next item on the agenda is a agreement between the Indiana Department of Transportation and the Michigan City concerning joint use of highway right-of-way and maintenance of lighting and handrail on US 12 over Trail Creek.
So this is a standard agreement between the city and INDOT with regard to projects where we do enhancements to existing or to planned INDOT projects. In this case, this project consists of decorative elements being added to the bridge over Trail Creek on Highway 12 and the approaches to that bridge. So basically everything from the Michigan Boulevard intersection to Blue Chip Drive will consist of a combination of, well, the city will be paying for elements including decorative lighting and decorative railing along the bridge. The decorative lighting will extend the length of the distance that I just described, and the railing obviously will only be on the bridge itself. INDOT is already doing a standard bridge deck replacement in this location. So regardless of whether the city did this enhancement or not, this was going to happen. This is scheduled, I believe, for construction in 2020, during the calendar year of 2020. That was to minimize the disruption to the city as well as the surrounding properties. There will be, it's our understanding, there will be, with the exception of very few interruptions, there will be traffic maintained throughout the project in both directions. Most likely that will be accomplished by way of one lane in each direction on one side of the bridge and then flipping to the other side. It'll consist of also a multi-use pathway segment on the south side as well as a sidewalk on the north side of the bridge. And like I said, this is the standard agreement between the city and INDOT. Much like the I-94-421 overpass project, the city is responsible for conducting routine inspections, reporting to INDOT on an annual basis, and performing any sort of maintenance and replacement of the elements that are involved in the bridge. The Redevelopment Commission is paying for the equipment that's being installed, the decorative equipment that's being installed by the city that I mentioned. INDOT is doing the bridge deck replacement as well as the inner rail that will separate pedestrians from the traffic. And then, like I said, those other decorative elements will be paid for by the Redevelopment Commission from tax increment financing funds. And if you have any other questions, I'm happy to answer. And I believe that Attorney LePage has also reviewed the agreement.
Okay.
I have, and it's appropriate for the board to approve.
Any further discussion? No, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the agreement between Indiana Department of Transportation and Michigan City concerning the joint use of highway right-of-way and maintenance of lighting and handrail on US 12 over Trail Creek.
Support.
No further discussion. I call for the vote. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is a resolution adopting a schedule setting forth the maximum amount of performance bonds applicable to various types of ordered action pursuant to the Unsafe Building Act and setting the average processing costs.
So, Mr. President, this resolution, of course, is based on the Unsafe Building Act, wherein many times this board sits as a review board of orders issued from the planning department, whether they be orders to repair or orders to demolish. What this does is this board has never adopted standards to set performance bonds. So if this board, a hearing ever occurs before this board when the board wants to give the applicant 30, 60 days to get the property in compliance, you could establish a performance bond. So this would give you the authority to do that. And what this also does is years ago, the Board of Works established just averaging processing costs. So if the city was to demo a property at the very end, what we can do is we can lien the costs that we've incurred on that property to recoup. And what it does is it establishes the average processing cost. And like I said years ago, this board did establish the average processing cost, but since that time, costs for title search, costs for publication, certified mail, recording fees have increased. I believe the current amount is $975. What we would be asking for is that the average processing fee go to $1,075. So it's $100 more to take into account the increased costs that I have just explained to you. And also to take into the direct cost the city incurs for asbestos testing. That many cases we have to incur that right on, and in all fairness that we should be allowed that if we have incurred any types of asbestos testing and asbestos abatement, that we'd be allowed to recoup those costs as well. The statute requires that we have a formal public hearing on this morning. The clerk's office did publish notice of public hearing in the News Dispatch on March 22nd. So, Mr. President, what I would ask is that you open it up for a public hearing, and after the public hearing, the board make a motion, hopefully accepting this.
Okay. Anybody from the public wish to speak on this? Not? Do I have to close the public hearing? I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Move to close the public hearing.
No further discussion. I call for the vote. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item then is to approve the request. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the request, the resolution for adopting a schedule setting forth the maximum amount of performance bonds applicable to various types of ordered action pursuant to the Unsafe Building Act and setting the average processing costs.
I'll second that motion.
These costs are assessed against the owner of the property.
Yes, it would become a lien against the property. So we'd be increasing the amount that, well, basically, if the city incurs our resources, that we should be allowed to recoup those resources and lien it. So it would be against whoever the owner of the property is at that time.
Okay. There's no further discussion. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, aye. Aye. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is request to use access road by Northern Indiana Public Service, requesting permission to access Michigan City Access Road to perform soil borings within NIPSCO's property.
Spike Beller, Michigan City Engineer, yes. NIPSCO contacted me to request that they cross, basically it's Franklin Street that, there's no road there, but it's still Franklin Street. I think you probably have all the documentation there, so if you have any questions, you can ask me.
What part of Franklin Street? Because this attachment here, it doesn't clearly delineate what
it's
city.
The red.
I know that, but the red then doesn't say we own it, or it says that this Deborah Kavanaugh owns it.
No. See, they asked me, and I sent them, because they asked me about this particular, they said it was near this particular piece of property. So I highlighted it, sent it back to them and say exactly where are you wanting to cross. They sent me back the same thing I sent them, and noted in red where they want to cross.
So maybe what this board does is maybe tables it and sends it to NIPSCO and asks for further clarification, because this, I mean, I don't know it doesn't give a specific location of what you're.
But it's
What is a crossing? What street are we talking about? I mean, it's just a red box. It doesn't say anything.
This is Franklin.
Yeah. And what is this?
That's where they want to do the soil.
But what is it? What is it? Is it a street? And if it's so, what is the name of it?
This is the street. Okay.
What's it called?
Franklin.
Okay.
And this is where they want to cross, right here,
Right.
to do soil borings right there.
So when you say cross, do they need the road shut down, or I don't
There's
understand?
no road. They're just crossing city property.
So if it's, I'm confused.
Is this north of the tracks?
You go in here and right about there is the central service.
You guys had any dealings with this?
Where's north?
That's the parcel. And this is the beacon information about it, which says it's Michigan City property. This in blue is Michigan City property. This is where they want to cross Michigan City property and do borings.
So they're making one crossing across city property.
Yeah, that's vacant. I mean, it's not a road.
It's just property that's deemed owned by Michigan City.
And have you checked it? I mean, do you know that we own that? I mean, because it doesn't say on here.
The beacon says the owner is Kavanaugh.
No. This is the one they sent back. They sent me a request, and they said it was near Kavanaugh property. Okay, and so I wrote back and said, "Show me exactly where you're wanting to cross." They sent back this, and here is the owners, City of Michigan City, for. You can't see there's not a color.
I guess my suggestion is just have NIPSCO come back to this board and formally request exactly what they're wanting done and exactly where.
Well, legal makes that recommendation. Any further discussion? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to table this matter and have NIPSCO come back and explain exactly where they're going to be crossing.
Support.
No further discussion. I call for the. Yes. No further discussion. I call for the vote. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the claims and payroll.
I'll make a motion to approve the claims and payroll as presented.
Support.
No further discussion. I call for the vote. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is our unfinished business. First item is a street light mid-block on the 300 block of Walker Street.
Spike Peller, Michigan City Engineer. I don't see police here today, but they sent me an email that said that they would recommend that the street light be put in.
Okay.
Oh. normally you're over here.
He doesn't wear blue today.
Oh, okay.
Royce Williams, Chief of Services, Michigan City Police Department. And that is correct.
Well, thank you.
We do affirm that we want to like
Okay,
it.
thank you.
You bet.
Thank you.
You've heard the request and the approval. I entertain a motion then. Go ahead with the placement of the light.
Make a motion to move forward with the placement of the light, mid-block, 300 block of Walker Street for, due to the request from Laverne Childs.
I'll second that motion.
No further discussion. I call for the vote. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We take it off then.
Yeah.
Next item on the agenda is a speed assessment on Village Road and Crestwood Drive, Southgate neighborhood. Does police have any recommendations? Or do we carry it forward? Oh, excuse me. Sometimes I can't see blue. Red is better. Next item then, that's May 6th too. Oh, I saw that one. Okay, We Create Media Marketing presenting their sort of what they've done in the last 30 days.
60 days.
60? Excuse
Yes, I was able to email out all of the information to you guys on Friday. If you had a chance to review it and have any questions, we do have We Create here to answer any of those questions. And then in front of you today is the full ad list for the South Shore trains, News Dispatch, and Beecher, as well as our social media rankings and their hour printout again, or their hourly invoice. So if you have any questions,
I'm going to have a presentation.
we do. We have a video to show you
Okay.
that just to kind of catch you guys up to speed, and then we'll be back again next quarter.
Okay.
So this video is just an example of the work that we do, and moving forward in 2019, we're going to be doing videos like the Washington Park Zoo, etc. So this is just an example of what we've been doing.
Okay.
And my name is Chris Cribbs. I'm the videographer and social media manager at We Create Media, and I also live in Michigan City. So.
Welcome to the Old Lighthouse Museum. I'm Jim Retzik. I'm president of the Michigan City Historical Society. It's $5 adults and $2 for 13 and under, and of course entrants are no charge. This was originally the U.S. light-keeping service in the late 1800s and into the early 1900s. This light station was a legend with ship captains. We became a destination. Steamship travel was a big deal here in Michigan City. It was nothing to have 10,000 people here on a Saturday over at the park. We had a roller coaster. We had a water slide out into the lake. One of my favorite displays is upstairs in what we call the Lincoln Room. We have a copy of Life Mask. We sat for two. It's from the 1892-93 Chicago World's Fair. The model ships are very interesting. We recently had a model made of the J.D. Marshall. The J.D. Marshall is the ship that sank to the west of us here, out where Green State Park is. When the museum opened, they built a perfect replica of the original tower and put it on top of the building. You go up a flight of stairs, and then you have a spiral staircase going up the center of the lantern room, and that's how you get up there. We have shipwreck items, we have Michigan City items, we have lighthouse items. So you learn a little bit about a lot of different things.
Where is this being shown then? On our site?
Yeah, this would be on the website. This is also on Facebook. There's a clip on Twitter. And so we just do our best to promote the local businesses in Michigan City.
Any discussion? If not, next item on the agenda will be public comments. Anybody from the public wish to speak at this time? If not, any board comments? If not, we're going to take a 5-minute recess, and then we have an appeal of it by the animal control officer. The meeting will start over with a dog appeal.
Morning, Mr. President, board members, Royce Williams, Chief of Services of the Michigan City Police Department. I also oversee and supervise the Michigan City Animal Control, and I have both of those officers, Julie Holbrook and Natalie Howell, here with me today. Regarding this incident, we are attempting to deem 2 dogs dangerous and to seek the humane destruction of one per the circumstances that these girls are going to get into here momentarily. I'll pass it on to you.
Hello, I'm Julie Holbrook. We have had quite a history actually with these 2 dogs over the last few months, starting back on January 2nd, where myself and Natalie were dispatched out to Theola Wright's house, 1324 West 8th Street. She was complaining at this time just of Freya, the dog we're seeking the euthanasia for, being very intimidating to her, jumping on the fence line, which going out there, I was intimidated myself because the fence only stands 4 feet tall and this dog, half her body clears that fence. She could come over that fence at any time she wants to. And Theola Wright, being an elderly lady and living alone, she was very intimidated by this dog. On that day, I couldn't do anything to the owners of the dog, Julie Beadle and Joshua Bracken, except give them my advice about keeping the dog either on a chain when it couldn't be supervised because of their neighbor being intimidated and feeling threatened. Moving on from there, we had an officer that was dispatched later on January 17th out to the house where this time Julie Beadle, the owner of the dog, had called and was complaining that her neighbor Theola Wright was taking pictures of her dogs. I was not on that call. I've read the report, but basically they were upset that she was taking pictures of the dogs, probably to show us that they were not following the instructions that I had given them about keeping the dogs contained or supervised so they couldn't hurt anybody. Then again on March 6th, Natalie is called out to 1317 West 8th Street by Alicia Bauer, who is missing her dog, and Officer Howe arrives to the scene and discovers a deceased dog. It ended up being in the backyard of Theola Wright's house, which is completely coincidence, but her dog was laying deceased in the yard, and at this time, no one was able to see Freya, the German Shepherd that we believe is the one that actually attacked and killed the dog. We only seen Apollo in the backyard. As the day went on, Julie Beadle was the one that Natalie was dealing with that night. She didn't want to be very cooperative. She kept insisting that nobody could prove anything, that her dogs had done anything wrong. And then, you know, with an eyewitness only seeing Apollo, we had to treat Apollo like he was the one that attacked and killed the little dog. However, we later learned it actually was Freya. But moving on from that night, which there are pictures of that first little white dog, it did die,
and a report was taken, citations were issued, there's copies of the citation in there, and because neither dog was up to date on its rabies shot, Apollo had to be quarantined for 10 days due to not being current on shots. Not even, just a couple days after quarantine's over and Apollo goes back to his home on March 18th, this time myself and Natalie get called out there at 11:30 in the morning to Theola Wright calling her dog had been attacked in her backyard. This time we pulled up, both dogs were seen over the fence. So we later seen a video, which you guys have the still pictures from, where Freya was actually the aggressor in the situation. She had cleared the fence and just attacked this little dog. I mean, it all happened really fast. Like, she cleared the fence, attacked this dog, killed this dog. Apollo was kind of just present, kind of getting in, you know, the middle of it, but not ever actually physically hurting the little dog. Theola was very upset. She's had this dog, I believe, 13 years. His name is Snowball. So all her complaints for all these months ended up turning out to be exactly what she was in fear of, herself or her little dog getting attacked by this dog. And so, other than the fact that we've now, in 2 weeks' time, picked up 2 deceased little dogs at the hands of their dogs, we now have to, you know, deal with Theola, who's been pleading for help for months. Now, the ultimate cost, she's lost her dog, and we can't replace her dog. Animal control is seeking euthanasia for Freya for the reasons that we don't like to euthanize animals. We don't make that a habit in what we do. However, 2 dogs have been attacked and killed, and leaving that scene that last day, Assistant Chief Williams was out with me to talk to Theola, and we got stopped by other neighbors that themselves had had this dog attack their little dogs. But because their dogs didn't die, nothing, you know, it wasn't brought to our attention. But they wanted to make it clear to us that the whole neighborhood is in fear of this dog. I have talked to our vet. He is out of the country, so I could not get a statement from him, so I'm not going to quote what he said. But learning and knowing what I know for as long as I've been here, I do know that sometimes these dogs that go and attack dogs that they know they can defeat, sometimes will go after small children as well. And I am afraid that if we do not put this dog down, she's clearly not being supervised as well as what I'd hoped she would have been after the first attack. What's going to happen? Is it going to take 10 people losing their dogs before something is done? You know, that's my fear. So I'll let the Assistant Chief speak. If
I just want to throw in there, we do have the video. It was actually the dogs that we're trying to deem dangerous, and the one that's very dangerous. It was actually their surveillance camera, and they allowed the officer to go in there and record that. I was wanting to play that today, but thinking secondly about it, it is extremely graphic. A lot of people who attempted to watch it can't, and it's going to likely happen again. This dog's very dangerous, and like she said, we're not going to quote anybody, but certainly if there's a baby or a small child out there, who's to say that won't be mistaken by this dog and get visually attacked, harmed, and or killed. So we're trying to stop that from happening. Thank you.
Okay.
Do you guys have any questions?
How many warnings were the owners given?
Officially, I can say officially 2 warnings were given. After the first attack, I made it very clear, and I also have it on video footage. I pleaded with Josh and Julie to please, if they were going to let those dogs outside, have them on a chain. I pleaded with them. They seemed to understand. They seemed that they were going to be compliant with that. And like I said, not even 2 weeks later, here we are in this very same situation. I have deemed other dogs dangerous, and I've just put restrictions on the dogs. And most of the people will be compliant with that. They don't want anybody to get hurt. They don't want other animals to get hurt. They will be compliant and they will follow the rules, and everything is fine. My fear is in this situation that's not going to happen, because a dog had already lost its life at the hands of their dog, and then not even 2 weeks later. I mean, we're not talking years a mistake happened. We're talking 2 weeks later. Another dog has to die. And for why? It's easy. You could have put your dog outside on a chain or been outside with your dog and watched your dog to make sure this didn't happen. So, I'm feeling like there's really no alternative to this, You can put restrictions on people all day long, but if they don't follow them, I can't be out there watching them all the time.
Your recommendation then is, as far as Freya goes, you want to euthanize?
Yes.
Okay. What about Apollo?
Well, because we never physically seen Apollo attack like we did Freya, and we've housed these dogs since the 20th of March. They are in our possession. We've been able to monitor their behavior. Freya, when we go to, because we give Freya at least 2 to 3 walks a day by leash, and our kennels are just a one-room kennel. All of our animals are all in the same room. So we can't separate little dogs and cats and to where she can't see them. When we go to take her out for walks, she aggressively goes to attack. You have to hold her leash tight because she aggressively goes to attack if we have small dogs in other kennels. And Natalie, our volunteers, one of our volunteers is here today. They will contest to that. Cats or small dogs, we are nervous just housing her right now, because one little mess up and it could cost one of these animals that we have to house their life.
So, but what is your intention as far as Apollo goes?
Okay, Apollo, he's a different story. When we go to walk Apollo, Apollo wants to go visit the other dogs like a normal dog would, but he doesn't aggressively go to attack the cage. We just want to put some restrictions on Apollo, and hoping that with Freya not around to encourage these attacks, that he, with some restrictions, might be a dog that is able to be in the community safely.
What kind of restrictions?
His restrictions I listed on here. I'll go to the page, that way I can make sure I get them correctly. Apollo's restrictions are: the owner must securely confine the dangerous animal indoors or with securely enclosed lock pin, structure, or fence designed to prevent the entry of young children, designed to prevent the animal from escaping. Such enclosure must be a minimum of 6 feet high and must have secure sides. The enclosure must also be humane and provide protection from the elements for the animal. Also, dangerous signs. The keeper must display large letters in signs warning that we have a dangerous animal on the present. Such sign must read, "Warning, dangerous animal, keep away," must be visible to the public from a distance of at least 50 feet. And then also, we also recommend that, not recommend, that within 10 business days of the determination today, they get a $100,000 insurance policy on Apollo.
Okay, all right. And as far as monitoring after whatever decision we do make, is there going to be monitoring of Apollo? Are you going to be coming out there again? Or
yes, I've made it part of kind of our monthly routine. We'll say not weekly, but more monthly. I check on we don't have a lot of dangerous animals in Michigan City, but we have a few, and we do randomly, on a day there's not a lot going on, go by and just check the area, make sure everything's still secure and the animals are okay. And So yeah, we will be checking up on them if Apollo is, if you guys do grant the decision today.
I have no further questions.
Rich?
You guys have to open it up to the actual owners of the dogs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Is
Thank
the
you.
owner of the dog here?
I think some of the evidence.
What's your name and address for the record?
Julie Beadle and 411 Douglas Avenue. I did write an appeal statement.
Could you bring the mic down a little?
Sorry. I did write an appeal statement regarding their concerns. Freya is very protective of her yard. We have lived at this address for over a year. And Miss Wright has been harassing my dogs for over a year. She's threatened to hit Freya over the head with a rock. We've seen her spray things at her. I've called the cops on her, reporting these instances. I asked to make a report because she's instigating these situations. She's not taking pictures of my dogs. She's walking up to my fence and holding her phone up and holding it up over my fence. And she's like doing this to my dogs. She's coming up to my yard and my fence. Her trash cans are lined right next to my fence. I've been trying to accommodate to Miss Wright. I understand that she's fearful of my animals. So when she's outside, I bring my babies in. As soon as I let them out, she is out 5 minutes later. She refuses to move her trash cans. And I told her, if you are so frightened of my animals, why not take precautions? Why keep continuously coming up to my fence and putting yourself in that position? And she's very argumentative with me. Freya is barely a year old. I've been training her to be my service dog. She has been exposed to Walmart, Meijer, Lowe's, Home Depot. I take her into public. She is well socialized. I've never had an issue out of her. Freya's been in this yard for a year. And I've reported all this harassment, and now dogs are dying, and they just want to blame Freya. And I've been told, well, sometimes this isn't a dog. Freya has been around 7 children. All of our children. My youngest is 2. There has never been a scratch. There has never been a wrong movement. She's very protective and very gentle. Apollo's just lazy. We call him Eeyore. He just mopes around. He just kind of follows Freya everywhere. He hasn't done anything. And he's still being held in quarantine. The day of Freya's last attack, she was in a 6-foot kennel that we thought we had plugged all the holes in. Because yes, she begged us to put Freya on a rope. But you know what Freya's great thing is? Escaping her collar. So I tried to prevent that from happening so another incident wouldn't happen. I put her in a big kennel, and she dug out the front gate. So now we've made extra precautions. We have dug all around that kennel. We have made it completely secure. There are no holes in the fences, nothing. She cannot get out. And not once have we been called. We've called them and told them we fixed it 2 weeks ago. Never call back. Never come out and see it. Won't come out and talk to us. They just want to put her down. I don't think 2 wrongs make a right. Freya's a year old, and I think this can be fixed with her because she's attacking a woman who threatened her. Not a woman, but the animals in her yard. Both animals were in her yard. The neighbor on the side of me, their dog got out running around. Not a problem, of course, because it's not a German Shepherd. My German Shepherd jumps the fence, and everyone's running for their life. Freya didn't do anything to that dog, because trust me, if she did, there would have been an injury. If Freya would have attacked that dog, there's no medical bill. There's no incident report. She jumped the fence. Everybody wants to call the cops, but nobody wants to call the cops on a little pomchi that's in my yard instigating my dogs. She jumps out, wants to play with the dog. All of a sudden, she's a mad killer. Why don't you just call her Cujo? She didn't do anything to that dog. And now they want to put her down. I will bring Freya in here, and I will show you what this girl is made of. I've had her in public. I've had her around small kids. I had a small dog. I have a cat. Freya hasn't killed my cat. Freya hasn't attacked anything until that neighbor was hurting her. And both dogs were in her yard. Does that say something? There are little dogs all around my neighborhood. The neighbor up to the left of me has about 10 with roaming cats. And like they said, Freya can easily jump my fence. Not once has she jumped my fence to attack any of those other animals. She could easily clear it. She's not a dangerous animal. She's protecting herself. And I keep being told, well, they can't tell you what happened. Yes, she can. If you listen. She can tell you what happened to her. Because now she's telling you. And I've asked that lady to leave my dogs alone. And she didn't. But now she's paid the ultimate price. Because she instigated a situation that I tried to prevent and called to make a report. And no one will listen. But the moment my German Shepherd moves wrong, we got everybody and their mother at my house. I really do think it's discrimination against a German Shepherd and a Pit Bull. Because of the breeds. Freya, there's kids all around my neighborhood who instigate her all the time. She's never jumped my fence. She barks and protects her yard. What dog doesn't jump? What dog doesn't bark? Theola was crying because my dogs were barking at her and jumping up on the fence. And I told Theola, if my dogs wanted to hurt you, they would and they could. But they don't. So please leave them alone. And she didn't listen. And now they want to put Freya down. And she's a year old. And a damn good dog. She's my baby. I understand the severity of the situation. And I do understand that 2 dogs have lost their life. And I'm very sympathetic. This woman didn't know where her dog was. It's been running around for days. But nobody gives a shit. My dog jumps the fence for 2 seconds and she's killing everyone. This dog got in the wrong yard who was harassing my dog. Freya is protecting herself and she's telling people. She's telling you. Something happened to her and she's protecting herself. I will take precautions with Freya. She won't leave my sight. But please don't put her down. She doesn't deserve it. I'm very sorry for Snowball's loss. Yes, he was older, and he didn't deserve it. He was in a kennel. Freya was in a kennel when Snowball was out, which they neglected to tell you. Like, I just let Freya out and didn't pay attention. I'm just ignoring what they're telling me, I will gladly invite every single council member over, show you my gate, show you my enclosure. I'll show you my video footage, which they like to splice. Paulo did nothing and they're still holding him. And then I called and they said, well, the video isn't that clear. We can't really tell what happened. But now they're telling you all this stuff happened. And now my animals are being held at my expense and Paulo didn't even do anything. He climbed the fence like a lazy butt, climbed back over and lay down. I can show you the video footage. I can bring him in here. He'll mope in here like you were. And they want to put dangerous restrictions on him because he might do something. Well, how about we put on dangerous restrictions on everyone because you might do something? Everyone's unpredictable. It's up to you to listen.
Anybody else wish to speak? Yes, sir. What can you add?
I just walked in, so I'm not exactly sure what was said. But I
Name and address, please.
My name is Joshua Bradkin, 411 Douglas Avenue. I live with Julie Badel and the two dogs in question. Apollo, like she said, is Eeyore. If you guys are familiar with Winnie the Pooh, Eeyore is just lazy, don't really do a whole lot. That's Apollo. Freya, she's always been, when we first got her, she was skittish. Very skittish of everything. And then she started coming into her personality and protecting her yard. She never really showed any signs of aggression until recently. And I believe it's because the older right did something to her to cause her to be aggressive. I am pretty familiar with animals. I've been around dogs my entire life. And from my understanding, when you do something in a dangerous manner to cause harm to an animal, they remember that and they typically retaliate at some point in time. May not be right away, but they will retaliate.
Freya's been around her 7 kids. Everybody, friends, family, neighbors.
All of our dogs have been around kids ranging from 2 years old up to 15. Been around all kinds of friends and family, little dogs, little cats.
We have a cat.
I mean, they're not dangerous animals.
She's protecting herself.
Like I said, Apollo's a big Eeyore. She's just being protective.
And protective of me.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Royce Williams, MCPD. Just want to add, and for the record, I got 2 German Shepherds, my favorite dog of all time, so there's nothing like that. What I do want to say is I am unaware of any reports or attempting to call the PD to file any harassment reports, not saying those don't exist, but I'm not aware of any at this point. I've never been brought to that. But Josh and Miss Beadle did allow me to come into their house and look at their surveillance, and that's where the camera footage come from in the first place, where Freya did jump out of their yard over the fence onto Snowball's property where that killing was committed. And this is the first time I'm hearing any claims that the neighbor's actually taunting or doing anything like that to the dog. They got an excellent surveillance system. I would ask that they go ahead and provide any still images or video of that occurring at this point in time, because I would like to see that. But I don't believe that exists. Thank you.
If I can find it in the archives, I will gladly provide them.
It's all on her phone. She's recorded everything.
You have surveillance yourself. You have it.
I do, but she also has it. She's shown you so many videos.
We don't need this back and forth. We're here to present the information for us to make a decision. If there's no further presentation, I'll entertain a motion.
What is the appeal itself? What does that request?
So the appeal is requesting the city buy-in through the animal Control Division has deemed 2 dogs dangerous. The first dog is Freya. And when you deem a dog dangerous, there's 2 avenues under the ordinance that the animal control can go under. One is euthanasia path. The second is deeming the dog dangerous and imposing conditions, such as the conditions Ms. Holbrook outlined as having insurance and closures, signage. So with respect to the ultimate orders issued by the animal control, was deeming Freya dangerous and euthanizing, deeming Apollo dangerous but imposing conditions. And then the dog owners are appealing those determinations here today. So the motion that this board could make is, if you need more time to research it, of course you could table this and make a decision later. You could affirm their decision. You could deny the city's decision. You could possibly modify the decision. Those are your options here today.
I think I would affirm the city.
I think we need to take this under advisement and make sure that we're under legal grounds for our decision if it is euthanasia.
All right, then I'll make that motion to take this matter under consideration and make a decision at our next meeting. You won't be here. Okay. At next regular meeting, he will not be here. Meeting after that?
I will.
When will you be here?
June.
Well, I would suggest, I know that animal control has been holding these dogs for a very long time, and I don't want to say it's problematic, but it is inconveniencing them. So the sooner the decision's rendered, the sooner that either way we can move forward.
Held special meeting in a week. She has to be, all be released.
So again, your decision as a board is if you would affirm, what animal control is saying with Apollo, and Apollo is the one with the conditions. You could affirm that if they're in agreement with the conditions, and assuming that the conditions are met, then the dog could be released to them. So if you wanted to research Freya, you could separate the dogs.
Okay.
May I speak? Apollo. We have.
Sir, you need to come to the microphone, please.
Sorry. We do have a $100,000 policy in place already, and I have taken restrictions as far as putting up a pen. I put concrete blocks all around the perimeter of the pen and buried them so they couldn't dig out. So I even attached the pen to the house. It is 6-foot high fencing. There's no way they can jump it or get through it or dig out of it. The only thing that hasn't been done is I haven't been able to find signs that say dangerous animal, stay away. And that was the only other condition that animal control was asking. I would just ask that I can keep the other restrictions in place, that's not a problem. I just ask that he's not be deemed dangerous. Like I said, he's a big Eeyore.
We could allow Apollo to be released pending the approval of the dog warden.
But you would be upholding the dog or the animal control's decision to deem the dog dangerous.
Correct. Okay.
With the conditions.
I'll entertain that motion.
I would make a motion to uphold the decision in regards to Apollo of the dog warden, and subject to all of the conditions being met prior to Apollo being released.
Support.
That work further discussion. I call for the vote. All those in favor, aye. Motion carries on Apollo.
As far as Freya, I would make a motion that we take this matter under advisement and make our decision at our next regular meeting. Or
Can we have a special meeting?
Or prior
in
due
a
to
week?
A special meeting.
Because
Or
I'm
pro-
not going to be here next month.
or prior due to, per a special meeting
Yes.
is
we
called.
could do
I would second the motion that we table this matter and have a special meeting.
Okay. Not at any specified time at this time. Okay. If I hear it, no more discussion, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. There's no further business to come before this board. We are adjourned.